Works cited entries for an annotated bibliography, Part 3. As I am preparing to do some revision on the third entry, I'm going to take a moment and look over the first and the second entry. Notice that on the right side, the margin is pretty big. On the left side, the margin is 1 inch. This happened because when I first started working on this document, I was in Arial, which is a bigger font than Times New Roman. When you are moving through the process of fixing your citations, you should always look at previous citations to make sure that they are correctly rendered. In order to see what else I can move up to line 1, I'm going to put the cursor at the end and hit delete. Then I'm going to hit enter at the end of this line, delete out that extra space, and tab over. At the end of line 2, I'm going to hit delete so I can bounce up what's on line 3 that will fit on line 2. And then I'm going to tab the March 2020 over. Now for the second entry, I'm going to put the cursor here and hit delete to see if I can move anything from line 2 over. And that's not going to work, so line 1 is full. I'm going to tab over difference. At the end of line 2, I am going to try to figure out what all I can fit from line 3. So I'm going to put the cursor after that hyphen and hit enter so I can release this part of the URL from the rest of it. Notice that the P became capitalized again. I'm going to change that to lowercase. Now I'm going to go to the end of line 2, hit delete, and see if I can get power to pop up, which it did. I think I could get the of there, but if I put of there, I have to put the hyphen. That fit. So I'm going to delete those from line 3. I don't think I'm going to fit kindness on that line. Then I'm going to delete out extra spaces here and move on to the third entry. Third entry should start with the author's name, but this essayist doesn't have an author's name. So we're going to collect that URL and enter it up here, which I've already done. We're going to click on this. I don't see an author's name anywhere on the top of this document. We can scroll down to see if it's at the bottom, and it isn't. So the essayist is correct to omit that. If there is no author, we just ignore that and we go to title of source. The title of source here is Reasons, Consequences, and Possible Solutions of Littering. Notice the opening and closing quotation mark in the period inside of the closing quotation mark. Going to the cite, we see that the title is correctly rendered. The next element on the citation list is the container followed by a comma. So according to the essayist, this is the container. Notice it's in italics. The I is blue. Notice that the comma that follows is not italicized. So let's double check the name of the container. This is not the name of the container. I don't see a name of a container anywhere here. There's no name of container down here. But there's some other options up in the top row here. So I'm going to right click on Home, ask it to open in a new tab, and then I'm going to click on it. This is the name of the container. So now let's go back to our document, and this is correctly set up here. The next thing that we're going to need is any of these items, which we don't have, the publisher followed by a comma. The essayist didn't give me a publisher. The next thing on the essayist's citation is the URL, which is not the same thing as the publisher. So let's go back into the article to see if there's a publisher. Usually that's going to be on the bottom. I don't see a publisher here, but I do see a copyright name, Sen. In the absence of an officially listed publisher, let's go with the owner of the site. Who owns the site is the person who's publishing. It's also the person or entity that owns the copyright. Now, before we start adjusting things, let's just look to see if we have a publication date. Let's go up here to the document. Usually the date is going to be at the top. I don't see a date. Going to the bottom, there's a date here, but it's the copyright date, not the date for the article. So if there is no date, we move to the next thing, which is a location followed by a period. The location is going to be the URL, but now we're going to need to adjust some things. I'm going to put the cursor at the end of line 1 to see if I can pull the word portal up to line 1. So I'm going to hit delete here. In order to get the word portal up there, I lose the P. So line 1 is full. I'm going to move the cursor to the beginning part of line 2 and tab over. So that's telling me that I need to unwrap the text. I put the cursor at the end of line 1 and hit enter, and then I can tab over. I'm going to need to put some of the URL on line 2. So I'm guessing that I could probably get to publications and the slash. I'm going to put the cursor there and hit enter, and that did pop up. So let me see if I can get reasons and consequences and the hyphen to pop up. So I'm going to release those two aspects from the URL and change that R again to a lowercase, hit delete and see if they pop up, and they do. Now it's going to be pretty easy to put the cursor here and pop this part up. The thing that's missing at this point after the location is the access date. The essayist didn't give me an access date, but I did just access this article today. So I'm going to say accessed, oops. I'm going to say accessed the 3rd day of April and the year. And there we have it.